of the Scottish Parliament, I am delighted to welcome you to the Scottish Parliament today. I regret that the warmth of our welcome has not been matched by the warmth of our weather. Your Excellency, this is not the first visit to the Scottish Parliament. However, it is an honour to host your first visit here as the President of Malawi. The Scottish Parliament, from its earliest days, has had a great commitment to equality, and we are particularly proud to welcome you as only the second ever female head of a state of Africa. Scotland's friendship with and affinity for the country and the people of Malawi has been a feature of our relationship for many years now. We have a shared history which is centuries old, and connections across the spheres of politics, religion and culture. Your Excellency, your visit today is one of a series of events to celebrate the bicentenary of the birth of David Livingstone. Born 200 years ago in Blantyre, the strength of Livingstone's legacy is borne witness in the many events commemorating his memory and achievements in both of our nations. Connections that endure to this day and that are being built upon by us for our children and for our grandchildren. Livingstone's legacy is also evident in the strength of the economic and spiritual connections that he opened up between our countries. The Scottish Parliament's own relationship with the National Assembly of Malawi was formalised in 2006 following the signing of the Scotland-Malawi Cooperation Agreement between our governments. We established a joint programme between our legislatures with support from the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. And Your Excellency, you have just met with Hannah and Francis, two parliamentary officials from Malawi who are here to learn more about the procedures of our Scottish Parliament. A number of our members are currently participating in a parliamentary pairing initiative which has connected our members with members of the National Assembly of Malawi. And as I speak, two of our colleagues, Sarah Boyack and our former presiding officer, Alex Ferguson, are in Malawi to participate in workshops at your National Assembly. They are also attending events marking the Livingstone bicentenary during their time there, and dispatches tell me they're having a wonderful time. This sharing of knowledge and experience between our parliaments and members has been a two-way process, and it has been a vital and valuable tool in the Scottish Parliament's own development. As our work with the National Assembly has evolved, we have learned much about our own processes and have also gained a valuable international perspective. Your Excellency, I am delighted to welcome you to our Parliament. I now invite you to address the members of the Scottish Parliament.
Right Honourable Tricia Marwick, Presiding Officer of the Scottish Parliament, Your Excellency Chief Justice Richard Banda, SC retired, First Minister, Honourable members of the Scottish Parliament, members of my delegation, Your Excellency Michael Nevin, High Commissioner to the UK, Mr. Bernard Sande, Malawi's High Commissioner, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be with you this morning and to be able to greet you in your own parliamentary home. This is a beautiful building, the heart of the city, yet with the mountain and countryside on your doorstep. Quite a number of you have visited us in Malawi, so this is a good opportunity for me to return that compliment and visit you here. Let me invite those of you who have not visited us to come to Malawi and see our Parliament in action. You will be most welcome, and I wish you good luck. Because I was talking to the presiding officer this morning, that when I came last time, I was also a guest to this parliament and was amazed at how similar proceedings are here and in Malawi. I was asking the presiding officer what happens to us when we get into this chamber, whether it is in Scotland or in Malawi. Madam Presiding Officer, honorable members, the occasion of this visit this week is to celebrate the 200th birthday of Dr. David Livingstone, the man from Blantyre who spent the best years of his life exploring and enjoying Central Africa. Our very first visit in Scotland, when we arrived after a long journey on Sunday, was to his birthplace. Dr. Livingstone and Scotland have a very special place in the hearts of all Malawians. Last night we were welcomed to Edinburgh Castle and enjoyed a wonderful dinner hosted by the First Minister. We met many of the people who are engaged with Malawi and whose commitment and experience we deeply appreciate. Scotland's story in Malawi dates back to David Livingstone, and the work that I and my delegation have witnessed during our visit to this beautiful country is a tribute to him. I believe he would be delighted by the range and depth of modern Scotland's engagement with a country he loved so much. Honourable members, Scotland has been closely involved with the economy of Malawi right from the beginning. Dr. David Livingstone called for Christianity, commerce, and civilization to end slavery and bring new opportunity to the people of my country. Yesterday afternoon, we met with prospective Scottish investors at a meeting convened with the help of Mrs. Anne Clark and chaired by Mr. Ewan Brown. My ministers and I look forward to talking further with them, and so we will make arrangements for a visit by prospective Scottish investors later this year. Do you know that in the lakeshore town of Nkotakota, you can still sit under the tree where Dr. David Livingstone negotiated with slave traders to set people free? So come to Malawi and feel at home, because it is Scotland's African home. Walk with us, work with us, and invest with us. We should walk hand in hand as we build a bright future for the next generations. As President of Malawi, I'm proud of my people and our history. I'm committed to eradicating poverty through economic growth and wealth creation. As a nation, we are on a path to unlock the potential of our people, to regain their dignity and sense of pride, and thereby give them the opportunity to realize their social, political, and economic freedoms. My government has prioritized to drive a people's development agenda that enhances opportunities, reduces inequalities, and overcomes poverty. As a country, we have embraced the values of integrity, honesty, tolerance, selflessness, and stewardship. We are building our future on 3 pillars of unity, equity, and development. Madam Presiding Officer, honorable members, equipped with these values, Malawians have joined me on a journey to build a caring and an inclusive society, a society that rejects corruption, a society that rejects nepotism and lawlessness, a society that respects the rule of law, that guarantees human dignity, that fosters development and prosperity for all. Malawians seek a public service that is efficient, effective, and motivated, and that can deliver on its mandate. My countrymen and women are saying that indeed building a better Malawi is possible. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as this assembly may be aware, I assumed the presidency of Malawi in April 2012 under very peculiar circumstances following the sudden death of my predecessor, the late Professor Bingu Mutharika. At that time, the economy of Malawi was at near collapse. Due to economic and political governance problems, the country had lost the support from its cooperating partners, and hence the much-needed budget support was frozen. On the diplomatic front, relations with the international community and even our neighbors were destroyed. As a result of these developments, the country was running short of foreign currency and hence was unable to import fuel and other raw materials necessary for producing goods and services. People were spending days at petrol stations waiting in anticipation of fuel deliveries. Consequently, companies were laying off people and the tax collections were dwindling, leading to increasing deficits in the national budget. The combination of non-disbursement of budget support by our cooperating partners and the dwindling of revenues meant that the required social services could not be delivered as required. This is the Malawi I found when I got into office on April 7th, 2012. It therefore became very clear that the first task that we had to do was to take measures to bring the economy back on its economic path. I immediately engaged the British government, and within a short space of time, we restored the bilateral relations between our countries. Very quickly, we exchanged envoys. At the same time, I had to put in place economic policy reforms to reverse the economic governance problems that I inherited. I therefore engaged the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank with a view to agreeing on an economic reform package to stabilize the economy, which included devaluing the currency by 49%. These measures were politically very risky, but we recognized that they were necessary. Fortunately, the people of Malawi have been very supportive of these reforms. This support has been strengthened because they have noticed that some of the challenges that were there in April 2012 have disappeared. I must also point out that my government has received tremendous support from the international community, including the United Kingdom. In July 2012, I organized a national dialogue on the economy to come up with measures to stimulate the economy and ensure sustainable economic growth. Through this dialogue, we came up with an economic recovery plan, which outlines short and medium-term measures to get the economy up and running again. Under the ERP, we have identified 5 priority sectors, namely agriculture, energy, mining, tourism, and infrastructure development. These sectors were identified based on their potential to create jobs for the people of Malawi and diversify the sources of growth. Government further decided to identify 3 projects in each of the priority sectors. Through the project implementation and monitoring unit set up in my office, we are closely following up on those projects to ensure that we deliver on our promise to the people of Malawi. Madam Presiding Officer, honorable members, in the economic recovery plan, we have recognized that the private sector has a very critical role to play in bringing prosperity and wealth to the people of Malawi. To this end, we have taken measures to improve the business environment in the country. We have reviewed all the laws that affect the business environment, and a number of them have already been amended and passed by our parliament. I have directed that we must move Malawi from the current position of 157 to the top 100 countries on the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index by the end of my term of office next year. I wish, therefore, to invite the Scottish investors to come and invest in Malawi. Malawi has many investment opportunities in agriculture, energy, mining, tourism, among others. The people of Malawi are hardworking, honest, and we have laws that ensure that your investment is secured and protected. My message to this Assembly is that Malawi is open for business, and the people of Scotland are invited to join us on this journey towards prosperity. Honourable members, in conclusion, let me assure the people of Scotland that Malawi is poised for transformation. We have endured the dangerous zone, and we are just about to realize our destiny. The melody from the warm heart of Africa is sweet again. There is hope for my people, and indeed, there is hope for my country. I look forward to seeing the friendship between our two beautiful countries growing and being extended. Let us continue our journey as friends and colleagues. Let us work together to build a just society, a caring society, and an inclusive society. It is therefore my aim to ensure that under my leadership, we continue these historic links for the mutual benefit of the people of Malawi and Scotland. I look forward to further collaboration between Malawi and Scotland. I thank you for your attention, and may God bless you all. Thank you.
First Minister.
Your Excellency, President Banda, Chief Justice Banda, Ministers and delegates from Malawi, Presiding Officer, thank you so much for your address and your presence here today in our Parliament. You are the fifth head of state to address a meeting of this Parliament, and how appropriate it is today that the Scottish Parliament's first ever female Presiding Officer should welcome you, the second woman head of state of an African country in the modern era. Your presence on the bicentenary of David Livingstone's birth is, of course, a tribute to Livingstone himself, his immense achievements, but it's also to the continuing relevance of his values and the enduring friendship between the people of Scotland and the people of Malawi. That friendship, as has been said, is demonstrated by the presence of two of our own MSPs, currently in Malawi, where they are visiting your National Assembly and taking part in the bicentenary commemorations in Malawi. At the David Livingstone Memorial Centre in Blantyre, which you visited for the second time on Sunday, you saw the room where Livingstone was born, the mill where he worked from the age of 10, the schoolroom where he studied. That background shaped Livingstone. It instilled his religious faith, his passion for education, and also his sense of compassion. Most importantly of all, it gave him his belief in the fundamental equality of all people. Madam President, you've had an exceptionally busy programme over the last few days, with many meetings on business and trade, the moving and memorable service in the David Livingstone Memorial Parish Church in Blantyre, the event at Edinburgh Castle last night, and your splendid presentation of the Communities' Cup to the victorious St Mirren side on Sunday, and your gentle commiserations with one or two disappointed Heart and Midlothian supporters. But the values that David Livingstone lived by still form the basis of our friendship with Malawi today. The cooperation agreement between our two nations, signed by my predecessor, now Lord McConnell, in 2005, is a partnership of equals. It has been further strengthened under this government and enjoys warm support from all parties across this chamber. It has already achieved a substantial amount. In Chickawawa, Strathclyde University has worked with over 35 communities to reduce maternal and neonatal mortality. These communities now act as models for the development of their surrounding neighbours. In regions such as Karonga and the Sanje, climate change is making towns, villages, farms more vulnerable to drought, to floods, to late starts to the rainy season. Voluntary Service Overseas Scotland is therefore working with the village communities and planning departments to ensure water resources are used more effectively. They are making it a priority to protect the poorest and most marginalised, especially women, subsistence farmers and malnourished children. The benefits of these two projects are mirrored by the dozens of others in towns and villages across Malawi. On Sunday, I was pleased to announce funding for a further 15 projects to support healthcare and economic development, to add to our climate justice, renewable energy and water projects. And on Sunday, Your Excellency and I also met the school children from David Livingstone Primary School and St Joseph's Primary School in Blantyre. We could see for ourselves how these links to Malawi are helping young Scots to become considerate, responsible citizens of the world. And we heard on the radio young Catherine Johnston exemplify how meaningful David Livingstone is to our youngsters of today by telling us he did three things. He fought slavery, he discovered the Victoria Falls, and he was eaten by a lion. After David Livingstone died, he was buried with enormous pomp and circumstance in Westminster Abbey. Tens of thousands of people watched his funeral procession. Memorials were established to him across the planet. But I'm not sure that there is any tribute which would have pleased him more or which does him greater honour than the lasting friendship which has been established between the churches, the charities and the peoples of Scotland and Malawi. I mentioned earlier Livingstone's guiding belief in the principle of human equality. One of his most recent biographers explains that Livingstone, quote, expressed this belief in different ways in different parts of his journals. One of his favourite forms was to quote Burns's great international anthem. For all that and all that, it's coming yet for all that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for all that. That song, as many members here will recall, was sung when the Scottish Parliament reconvened in 1999. It epitomises the spirit of egalitarianism and liberty which this Parliament, at its best, strives towards. And it captures perfectly the spirit in which this Parliament and the people of Scotland embrace our friendship with the people of Malawi. So I have been delighted to welcome you today as we look back at the achievements of one of the greatest ever Scots, but we also look forward to many, many more years of cooperation between our two nations, Scotland and Malawi.
Thank you, First Minister. Before I close this meeting of the Parliament, we're going to have a photograph. Can I ask the members on both sides if they could move forward a bit? And this will only take a few minutes, so if you could just cooperate with Andy, the photographer, we'll get it over and done with in a painless manner. Thanks very much. I now close this meeting.